Wes, welcome to Across a Table and Above Some Herbs. You got a farm. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
So Roots Memphis is an urban farm in South Memphis, a neighborhood called Whitehaven. It's a very underinvested neighborhood now. It used to be. It's pretty far from the city center, so it used to be on the periphery of development. It attracted a lot of shipping and distribution several decades ago because it's in close proximity to the airport, but it has fallen into disrepair. Pretty much the entire neighborhood is in poverty. Mary was able to get that land through a deal with an out-of-town developer who was able to find this historic hotel on a tax sale in Chicago. He bought it, came down to Memphis, said that he really wanted a parcel of this, or a section of the parcel, to be used for sustainable food, and was put in touch with Mary, and so Roots got started that way. It is it's a half acre of land, raised beds. We're currently constructing a greenhouse, and it's soon to be the site of some really exciting stuff. We'll have a farm stand, food truck, and it'll become like an oasis of good quality food in this neighborhood.
When did Roots get started?
Mary, what are the exact dates?
Almost our 1-year anniversary with Roots.
Okay.
Well,
Really, my involvement is co-executive director of Roots Memphis Farm Academy. We're going to train aspiring farmers in business skills, like how to run your farm as a business, and farm skills training, how to get out in the fields and grow some crops. And then we're going to put them through an incubation process where they'll practice all of those skills on a quarter-acre plot. They'll have to keep records of everything like it's a business, manage the site, grow everything. They'll have to take it to market and record their profits, keep enterprise budgets on every crop that they grow. And if after 2 seasons they've been successful, then we connect them to this whole other process of business launch, where we think we're going to be able to secure for them land in the city or in the county to get started. Memphis has been behind on the farmers market scene, but now they're popping up everywhere. And they need vendors, and there's way more demand from people than there is supply. And so they'll be able to establish permanent markets under shared branding at those farmers markets and sell there. And then the big thing is that there's no food hub in Memphis or in the region. And food hubs are beneficial because a lot of the buyers, particularly restaurants, they don't want to be working with, or it's inefficient for them to be able to work with lots of small producers. It's a lot easier for them if they can work with one major seller and get everything that they need there. So we're working with a nonprofit organization that's going to develop the food hub model. They'll be able to sell to the food hub. Everything will be aggregated there, and then that food hub will handle the distribution to the restaurants. We can guarantee sales for them.
how did you become a farmer or get involved in this side of things yourself? This is a question for both of you.
Okay. Well, I'm an attorney. I've also been in business school, and I've been really interested, really since business school, in sustainable entrepreneurialism. So I've really been interested in starting the kinds of systems that we need to have a truly sustainable economy. And food is the big one right now. There's so much interest in food. People are growing increasingly familiar with all of the issues that surround food. People are really familiar with where our food is coming from and the kinds of shifts we need to make in the food system. And for all of the reasons that I stated earlier, we were able to figure out pretty early on that there's just this gap. There's a lot of knowledge, and there's sort of like a known sort of like what the end goal needs to be, which is we need this food system change. but there's not necessarily people haven't put the pieces together exactly on how to connect those things. So we felt like if we could build this mechanism, if we could build this academy and this company that would help people bridge that, that there would really be no shortage of interest, particularly from young people who are looking to have, a higher quality of life, who would like to do something that has, purpose, would bring fulfillment other than just, the bottom line. Or making an income.
It's always like the lifestyle that I've wanted. I started farming. I did a farming program in high school. And I grew up in Memphis. I grew up in the city, but it was definitely all just something that was kind of innate in me. I really wanted to do. And then I think how we are trying to convince other people to do it too is that lifestyle. Like it's the good life. It's like what we were talking about earlier. You work really hard and it's a struggle, and some days it completely kicks your butt, but at the end of the day, you're eating better than everybody else in town. So it's a good lifestyle. And I've always been passionate, I guess, about trying to be a producer as well as a consumer. It's just something that I feel like I need to do to just feel okay too. It's like making things and growing things. So it's just, I guess, fulfills an innate desire.
All right. Have there been like programs and processes along the way that have helped you to become, I guess, to get to where you are as a farmer?
Yeah, actually the best thing that has been given to me has just been a really great community of farmers around here, because I took farming classes in college, I lived on a farm in high school, and then after I was kind of thrown into the fire here when I got my first farm managing job, I really felt terrified, like I had no idea what I was doing, but Memphis and the Delta, Mid-South area has a great community, and it's a small community of farmers because we don't have enough farmers, but everybody is very invested in everybody else's success, which is a beautiful thing.
So, having grown up in Memphis right on the river, what are some of the things that you've seen about the river that have changed over time?
See far fewer people using it recreationally than when I was a kid, but I think it's because the water is so disgusting. And I saw something about the high tides in St. Louis, or not high tides, high waters in St. Louis this past weekend caused a breakage in one of their sewer treatment facilities, and it was 3 million gallons a day of raw sewage were being dumped in the river, and I was like, well, a couple more days, it'll be down here, and it's so for reasons like that, and we have like a nuclear dismantling facility right on the river, I just see far fewer people using it for pleasure, enjoyment.
No, I think it's a tough question for us to answer because our relationship with the river is almost non-existent. It's there, but we don't.
Oh, we're here because of the river, though.
Yeah, we're here
because
of the
Memphis
river,
is
but
here.
for historic reasons. It's not the same now. Its function isn't the same now as it used to be. We're still a transportation and logistics hub, which is essentially what you would have called Memphis when it first was founded, was for its location. But the amount of barge traffic isn't crucial to our economy now. It's mostly FedEx, and it's mostly like big intermodal type facilities connecting rail and truck freight. That's the big thing. Now we look at the river and we think, what things it might have been like, or it's just it's shaped the region so much, but it's a little bizarre how removed we are, I think, from it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're 5 blocks away from it, and it's a cool thing to like go walk by at sunset. But I don't know, this isn't quite like in our lifetimes, but what I think about a lot is how it's always been like the source of life for eons, like providing food and nutrients to the soil and water. And now we look at it and we're like, whoa, don't touch it.
Yeah, you don't want to go in there. I mean,
like our roommate accidentally took an accidental swim in the Mississippi River a couple weekends back, and she went to her doctor, and they immediately just like pumped her full of antibiotics, and she got really sick.
She got really sick. She had
from being
like
in the
rashes.
water.
But what are some of the other challenges you see?
Food is expensive, and we are the poorest metropolitan area in the country. That's, I think, number one challenge. So figuring out how to make it economically beneficial for everybody in the food system, I think is the challenge.
There's a lot of challenges. I mean, it's tremendously challenging. What we're trying to do is absolutely reshape, an economic paradigm around food. So getting people to understand that this way of rethinking the food system can work is a real battle. Which is why we're having to sort of just bootstrap this thing and fund it ourselves, and really
just. Why we work 10 part-time jobs.
Yeah, it's like we're just figuring out how we can do this, because on the front end, like, the community partners basically aren't there. We think they'll eventually come when they realize the tremendous impact that this is making. But by then we honestly probably won't need it.
All right. So on the flip side of that last question, can you talk about some of the successes that you've had so far?
Yeah, we have applications pouring in.
Yeah, I mean,
it's been awesome.
Again,
I get applications every time I check my email.
Yeah, the interest, we were correct in our fundamental assumption that this is something that people have wanted and are looking for. So we're getting interest from people, and people are reaching out to us, and we don't know how they heard about us.
I got 2 applications today from people I had no idea who they were.
Yeah, so we said, it'd be great if we started this pilot program with 5 students. And we've had 15 applications. Not all of them are, and that's in the course of 4 weeks.
So we have 2 scholarships for farmers now. We probably need 3 or 4 more, honestly, partial scholarships.
Yeah.
So it's the coolest thing about being in Memphis. The best thing about Memphis is that when you're hey, Memphis, here's an idea I have. I really want to do it. I think it'll work. What do you think? Everybody in Memphis is yeah, high five. Awesome, we're here for you. We got your back. And the whole city is you want to do something positive? How can we help? And I don't think you get that everywhere. So it's cool.
Excellent. I'm mindful of y'all's time, so we'll wrap this up with a few questions about the future.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, what do you think this whole project's going to look like in 20 years?
5 years, our projection is actually that in 5 years, we don't think we'll have to ask for another outside cent. And then the 10-year goal is sort of built around phase 2 or 3, how to start allocating that positive cash flowing that we're generating from sort of, building this local food economy. We think that recapturing that money and using it to build out the necessary infrastructure or ancillary businesses that would support this economy is a huge next step. So I don't want to get too much into the prognostication, but there's going to be certain kinds of locally owned business, retail stores, and things like food hubs and things that'll need to be developed. There will be a need. There will definitely be a need for probably sustainable energy sources, and there will probably be a need for good placemaking type. There will be a need for places for these kinds of things to go, and we'd like to really push that vision of what a sustainable community looks like.
What advice do you have for young people who want to farm?
Come to Roots Memphis Farm Academy.
Didn't
Is
say
that allowed? Can I put in a shameless plug and have that be okay?
Well, yeah. What advice would I have? Yeah, move to Memphis.
Yeah, for real. We have land here. Man, find another city where the county government is no, please take our land.
Yeah, please take our land and farm on it for free.
Y'all are going to be moving to Memphis ever.
Well,
True.
Yeah, I think that, my advice is, to innovate and be creative.